First engagement of the day on day 2 of the state visit of the Russian president. As you can see in the frame, Prime Minister Modi as well as President Draupadi Murmu. These are the images of the ceremonial welcome that the Russian president is being accorded in the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan, India's president's residence there. You can see the limousine moving in slowly with the Russian president on board.
Those
श्रीमान अंतर सेना सम्मान गार्ड निरीक्षण के लिए हाजिर है।
Yeah. You're watching those live visuals of ceremonial welcome for Russian President Vladimir Putin at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan. A guard of honor was also accorded to the visiting dignitary. President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi received President Putin at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Yes, and the President will be hosting the Russian counterpart at a banquet as well later on in the day. Once, all the official meetings are done, the restricted level talks, the delegation level talks, the statements with the media, right. Joint statement perhaps, Shubhendu, could be in the offing as well, because a lot of things need to be addressed jointly by the leaders as well. And we've seen there's been a track record of doing that, in the past as well when the two leaders have met. Ambassador Anil Wadhwa is with us. What do you make of this beginning? In fact, I'm being told that we're joined also by our colleagues from different locations. If I could come to you now, Jessica Taneja, we have Vishal Baristo with us as well as Siddharth Bhardwaj. But Jessica, to you, just tell us in terms of beginning of this official engagements that we've seen, where do we go from here? We get straight away into the formal talks now?
That's correct. We're right outside Hyderabad House where the formal talks will take place between the two leaders and the delegations that have accompanied the Russian side. Apart from that, about an hour after that, we will have the press statements from both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President. After that, we would see the Russian President go for a business event as well, which has been jointly organized at the Bharat Mandapam. And later in the evening, there's a banquet being hosted by the President Draupadi Murmu for the Russian President Vladimir Putin. So those are the details of what follows for the Russian President in terms of his itinerary today throughout. But if you talk about the importance of the conversation and the talks that are going to take place between the two leaders and the delegations, now that is going to be significant because they have many issues to discuss, not just in terms of regional cooperation, but also issues of global importance, the kind of geo-economic situations, ones that we've discussed just a short while ago, and also looking at strengthening economic ties. So also to point out, Gautam, we've been told that the Russian president is traveling with a business delegation of over 100 officials. So that pretty much speaks volumes about the importance that is being given to the trade ties and the enhancement of that in the near future, because both countries had promised, at least towards an agreement to have bilateral trade reach about $100 billion in the next 5 years. But given the kind of sanctions and the American president's transactionalist sort of approach right now and sanctions, put on countries, it certainly makes room for other countries to cooperate. And Russia and India have been partners, steady relationship that has been described between the two.
Jessica, stay with us. Vishal, if I can come to you. Defense partnership is an important pillar of traditionally India-Russia ties. India has now also begun diversifying its defense engagements. In this visit of President Putin, what are the ways in which this defense engagement could be taken forward? Because the expectations are quite high.
Well, absolutely. Very good morning to you, Shubhendu. And you pointed it very correctly. But let me also tell you that our defense ties need to be bolstered further because the defense imports from Russia have come down to 36%, 36% if we compare to 2010-15 era. So we need to pull it up, and India's defense relies heavily on Russia because Russia has been a very strong partner for many, many decades. We are celebrating 25 years of India-Russia diplomatic relations, and our ties go back to the Soviet era. So the defense minister is also one of the key ministers, along with 7 ministers, including the finance minister of Russia and 100 delegates that are traveling from Russia. So defense is going to be a key era. We've seen how the surface to air defense was the game changer for India during the Operation Sindhu against Pakistan. And but there are still a lot of things to do, especially the S-400 was very crucial for India, but we are looking for an advanced variant of S-400 that is surface to air defense. And then India would also be eyeing the S-500, and Russia is also very keen. But at the same time, India would also like to maintain its strategic autonomy. So all these things have to be taken care of. And when we talk about the Indian Air Force, yes, all the 29 squadrons are heavily relying on the Russian-made fighter jets. That includes Sukhoi 30, and Russia is also very keen to sell its Su-57, which is Sukhoi 57. We saw it at the air show in Bangalore. But India is also counting on all its options. But as far as this visit of President Putin is concerned, it is going to be very, very crucial when it comes to defense. Shubhendu?
Yeah, since we're on the subject of defense, Vishal, and you cover defense for the network, just tell us, apart from how traditionally India has bought weapons from Russia, Russia has also partnered India, is partnering India in its journey of developing more self-reliance where its own defense is concerned. But the nature of war itself has evidently changed as the conflict in Ukraine, Russia's own experience there, India's brief experience where Operation Sindoor was concerned. Now, to what extent can India and Russia defense ties evolve to take, defense ties into those domains, especially where drones are concerned, where non-kinetic means of conflict are concerned?
Well, very rightly put it by you, Gautam. Yes, we have learned a lot of lessons during Operation Sindoor, and let me tell you, though not directly, but we were fighting on two fronts. And Chinese-made weapons were used by Pakistan, and China was supporting Pakistan. And when it comes to the new technologies, ever-changing technologies, and problems that India has been facing because of the Russia-Ukraine war, the supply chains have been affected. Then the drones have played a crucial role. We've seen how drones have been a game changer for Ukraine in the Ukraine-Russia war. So definitely India is looking for new avenues as well, but India would also like to maintain the balance because from the importer, now India has become an exporting to 200 countries. Now India is more keen on the transfer of defense technology, which Russia also willing to some extent, and that would be the key area of interest for India, not only buying their weapons like the S-400 or the S-500. We already have S-400, but the advanced variant of S-400 and Sukhoi 57 is there on the radar for Indian Air Force, but at the same time it would also focus on the technology transfer, and it would be interesting to see what the defense minister of Russia has to offer. So it is going to be a very, very important day and very hectic schedule, but both India and Russia would be focusing on not only on the giver and taker, but bilateral further strengthening the relations as far as defense is concerned, because defense is a key area. Gautam?
Right. Vishal, stay with us. Siddharth, let me come to you. We've talked about diplomatic, economic, defense engagements, but what makes India-Russia ties special are the wide gamut of areas where the two countries engage. If you can fill us in about the expectations from the perspective of people-to-people ties between India and Russia in this visit of the President.
Definitely, Shubhendu. First thing which I want to say, answering your first question, that what is that which is binding both the nations together is actually the mutual trust between both the countries that is binding them together, and that is the foundation of the relationship between the two countries, which my colleague also Vishal mentioned, that the relationship between both the countries goes back to the Soviet era. Probably we weren't born that time as well, and since the time the relationship between the two countries is actually flourishing, and this is a very historic visit by President Vladimir Putin. We saw And this is a very significant and historic visit by the president, in various areas. Both the sides are expected to touch various sectors, which includes defense, which is the key pillar, I would say the central pillar of the relationship between two countries, and also the trade. Apart from that, civil nuclear cooperation is one thing, and one thing which is very important here, Shubhendu, is Labour Mobility Pact, which is expected to be signed, which will sign the legal framework for the migration and will give the opportunities to the blue collar workers there in Russia, because we all know that India has one of the largest skilled force in the entire world, and then when these forces will go to the different parts of the world, generate economy and further boost the economy of the country. So in that manner, this is a very significant visit. When you talk about people to people ties, Shubhendu, then this is a sector which usually people don't talk about, but it is very important sector when it comes to the ties between both the countries. There are about 20,000 students that are residing in Russia, and they are doing different works. So some are doing jobs, some are studying, bridging the gap between both the countries. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi also always addressed the diaspora as Rashtrapati. So in this manner, in this context, it's very, very important. We just saw a while back President Vladimir Putin was given a ceremonial welcome. The day 2 started with ceremonial welcome to President Vladimir Putin. He came there at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He met Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and also met Honorable President of India, Draupadi Murmu. And India certainly believes in Atithi Devo Bhava, which means that we treat our guests like God. And apart from that, India also believes, Shubhendu, in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that the world is one family and one future as well. So that way, the day 2 has started on a very high note, and there are some other engagements throughout the day. Like my colleague Jessica has told, that both the leaders will go to Hyderabad House. Therein, there are different MOUs that are expected to sign, the details of which are not yet out. But there are some key areas which are expected to be taken up when both the leaders will meet. Apart from that, it will be followed by a joint statement and followed by some other engagements throughout the day, including the business forum. So in that manner, this is a very historic visit by President Vladimir Putin. Civil nuclear cooperation, I would say, Shubhendu, is a very important and critical area wherein both the sides are expected to announce something, which again we have no details about. So all in all, when you sum up this visit, when you talk about this visit, in fact, by President Vladimir Putin, is a very important and very significant and a historic visit, because he is coming here in India after 2021 for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, when both the leaders will meet. There are certain things, important and critical things, which will likely to come out. Especially when you talk about the critical minerals and rare earths, which is a necessity in today's world. Russia has it. Probably when it comes to those rare earths and critical minerals, something is expected to come. Apart from that, when you talk about the energy security, then India, as we all know, is diversifying its sources, energy sources in the global world, and Russia being an important partner, something we can hear when you talk about the energy sources, because diversifying energy sources is actually the need of the hour, and India is heavily working on that, in which, like I just mentioned, Russia is a very important partner. So a lot of things are expected to come up with this historic visit by President Vladimir Putin, who is here in India. We also saw, in a warm gesture, how Prime Minister Narendra Modi, setting aside the protocol, himself went and received the Russian president. And the picture